Hello and welcome back to the Refined Teenage Perspective. I'm Aryan Goshali and I'm joined by Johar Ali and Bir Sandhu.
Hello.
Hello.
So for today's episode, Veer's going to take it away by introducing what the episode's about and if there's any more other than that. Well, anyway, Veer, you can have the floor. So
Yeah, so I'm guessing by the thumbnail and the title, you guys probably figured it out, but this episode is centered around conflict. And we have, again, like every episode, we have like subsections, and we're going to go over each of them. And just to start it off, and this was probably the best way we could start it, we're just going to define conflict. And again, like we've done in our past episodes, we don't really like to give things a very like binary definition, like
Like,
it's
yeah,
just
don't set
this
them to
and
something.
instant. It has to be like abstract in a sense that it can bring multiple thoughts. It's not just, oh, what's red, a color, and instead you can associate red with anger and even love and things like that. Basically an abstract definition. So what I see conflict as, it's essentially a disagreement that causes strife and basically suffering amongst other people based off one motive. And if you guys want to, you guys can also give your own personal definitions, and then we can continue from there.
I
I'd
mean, I
s-
I think it's exactly as what you said, to be honest. I don't have another like extra opinion on that,
yeah, I'd say
really. I
conflict
don't
is
know.
something that kind of adheres onto aspects of human life and just kind of takes away to them. Just adds basically difficulty to our lives, whether it be to yeah, just all around. It doesn't have to be. All right, okay. We'll just touch on this stuff later. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, so I guess conflict can be. I wanted to actually talk about. There's probably other synonyms for conflict, which can also make it easier to associate with. It can
problems.
also be things like problems, or again, like I said, disagreements or disputes. But it's not as simple as that because a conflict can be something as small as, I don't know, losing a game of rock, paper, scissors, or a war across the whole planet. And there's like a spectrum, and the spectrum is very large. And we're basically going over in this episode. Again, we've defined conflict. We're going to talk about like details of conflict. So our next topic, which we'll continue on, is how conflict is unavoidable and self-imposed. And by this we mean that
So like,
you can't really have like a world that's just like kind of all like a
Conflict free.
paradise.
Just
Yeah,
straight up conflict free.
it won't exist. It's not like there's not going to be problems because with over 7 billion people on this earth, there's going to be different views,
Opinions.
different beliefs, and different experiences. So it's
uh,
impossible to get everyone to agree on one idea, and that's why conflict is unavoidable. And
Yeah.
wait, can I
Even if
bring
it's
up?
something as simple. Sorry, yeah, you can go. It's fine.
No, it's fine. Finish your point.
I was just saying, like, even if it's something as simple as like, I don't know, like you said, rock paper scissors. There's always going to be different opinions on everything, like even in the most major things, like whether you should go to war or not, which we'll touch on in a bit.
Mm.
But there's always going to be different opinions, and people just based on the experiences, and even it can come down to like your religion. No one is ever gonna like, or not no
Always,
one, but I mean everyone isn't always going to agree on one certain thing,
yeah,
so
which
and
will
that
always lead to
provides
exactly.
like a lot of these
conflict.
problems, which it can be sometimes avoidable, which we'll also talk about in a bit. But yeah, Jory, you were saying something earlier.
Yeah. So this is yeah. Okay. So me and my dad, we were talking about like other stuff, right? And then it kind of segued into this. So we were just talking about like basically like religion, and he was talking about how I was like asking him like why would God let stuff like this happen in the world, right? And I already had my answer, but I wanted to hear it from him, and it was basically that um in a world that was perfect, right? In a world that was fully perfect, where no being was devoid of any kind of bad intentions, you would say it would be also devoid of free will. Like, so, because conflict is kind of like the human nature kind of manifested into our lives in order to let us survive, but also in order to keep us from surviving. I think it's like it's literally in the
That's
nature of
true.
humans to always have conflicts because we're all individually different. And if we weren't, if there were no conflicts, we would have no free will because we wouldn't be humans. Humans are defined by basically our imperfections, I guess you would say. It sounds very cheesy, but we are literally our imperfections. There's nothing more to it. We're not a perfect being. We're the lack of a perfect being, and I think that is the best way to think of humans. And I think that is why conflict exists in this world. And if it was devoid of conflict, then it like the world would literally not function. There would be no point to existing if everything was perfect. You may as well not be alive.
Yeah, because I guess if there's room for error, or if there's like this is also like, I don't know. I think the concept is called like yin and yang. Like
Oh yeah.
for there to be good, there has to be bad, and for there to be bad, there has to be good. If everything's just the same, it just becomes like a stale. I don't know what you call it, like a stale plate, and there's nothing really going on. Everything's just the same. But another reason, or another analogy you could use to say why conflict is unavoidable, you can think of it as like a game of cards, or like if life is like the cards you're dealt with, like I don't know what family you're born into, the area you grow up in, the school you go to, things like that. These are just randomized things. If everyone has different odds and a different set of cards, and the point is to win the game or win at life to succeed,
Mhm.
first of all, you're going to be competing with other people, and that's already conflict. And you're going to be,
You
it's
might be
kind of like
disadvantageous to others with their
exactly, yeah, because
cards.
it's in our nature to be selfish and look out only for ourselves. But even though we've evolved and we have like our sense of relationships and caring for people that aren't even that won't
Like
affect our survival, because we made those emotional connections, it's kind of like we've kind of like broken that chain that, oh, all I care about is survival, because we are, we're not like just primates or just
yeah, we
kind
have
of
more time in
lizard
our
brain
lives
anymore.
in order
We
to care
we're
about
we're
things other
evolved
than
past
survival.
that, but it still exists. There's still like that sense of just me surviving, even if it's not like, oh, only I get food. It's still there. Like for example, you'll only do something, most humans will only do something for the benefit of them. They won't care what happens to their surroundings, or for like the people after them, which is why,
They'll place their needs
like
over their own. I mean, others'
yeah,
needs. I mean,
exactly.
yeah, you know what I mean. Uh, so we're talking about. Oh yeah, should we talk about how a lot of conflicts in our world are avoidable and self-imposed? Like we create a lot of
Yeah,
our
yeah,
problems.
yeah. You can expand on that, and then
All right.
we'll
So
add
I
on.
mean, I touched on it like when I gave like my analogy of like I guess
Hmm.
humans without conflict would be like angels without any will. But so all of our problems, that means all of our problems are imposed by ourselves. We created all of our problems in the first place because that is just how we exist. But they could
That's
also
true.
be avoidable at sometimes. Sometimes they can't, but sometimes they can. And like we as human beings have created difficulty for others, and we've created difficulty for the entire human race on an average because they thought something would be more convenient for them at the time for a small group of
Hmm.
people. Like a lot of people, like I don't have an exact historical event to give you this, but let's just take for example like a war, right? Um, in this war, one king uh and his army of 1,000 warriors, right, and his country of like I don't know 30,000 people, right? They went and ravaged the entire world. And they ravaged the entire world, and basically a lot of the human race was diminished, and we kind of got rid of a lot of technological prowess, all in
Oh,
the
I get
result
it. I get what you're
because
saying.
this king wanted to conquest the entire world and wanted to have glory and fame and eternal fame or whatever, right? He cost the entire world maybe thousands of years of progress and maybe thousands of years of happier lives because he wanted his name on a history book. And
That's yeah. That's actually. I think that goes to show like where the motives of conflicts originate. And they're usually selfish,
yeah,
but
always
sometimes
around greed.
conflicts like you can technically see everything as like a conflict. Like for example, sometimes conflicts are like a way to sacrifice something for the future, or something to you do something now that seems sort of negative to get a
Yeah,
positive outcome later on. But it can also be the opposite, where you
do
do
something
something
positive right
like
now.
you said, like you can fight in this many civilizations or people for fame and your name in the history books, but you sacrifice on a lot of things. But then again, for example, let's say like in I don't know, like if you're like doing something for school, right? Like you have like a test, your conflict could be you have to study for it. and when you're studying for it, that could be your internal conflict. Like you don't want to do it, or for example, you're not interested. But once you like like I don't know, just walk through that path, it kind of brings a positive outcome later on. That's I feel like that's the reason why I don't know the concept of problems or concepts exist. They're caused by certain events that we think will bring us
Joy.
like joy or value later on. It's like you're it's like a price you pay for like something to happen or an event. It's basically like a price, but sometimes that price is
Not worth it.
yeah, and you kind of it kind of like outweighs the outcome,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what our next topic is about, which is war.
Yes.
And it's basically the reason we decided to add this here is because
War is the ultimate
it's
example of conflict.
It's
You
not,
know,
it
yeah,
literally is the embodiment of conflict. I
yeah,
mean, we have wars going on literally as we're recording this, but it's just
yeah.
one country wants certain things, another country wants another thing. That creates a conflict. There's so many
It's
examples of
been
it
like that
throughout
forever.
history,
Yeah,
and yeah,
but
and it is significant. Like I said, that what's going on between Israel and Palestine right now, that's the greatest form. Well, not greatest, but it's like it's
it's a
already a
good example
very
of
big form
conflict.
of
Yeah,
conflict. Yes, thank you.
yeah, and but the thing is, you know the funny part, or not the funny part, but the thing that's interesting, it's not even two countries going against each other. It's just two governments and a group of
Yeah.
people
that's
going against
true.
each other.
It's not
The
like
people living
anyone's
in the country have nothing to do with it. They're just living their lives.
Exactly.
But
The
it's not like
government
anyone's
has
fighting for like
sacrificed.
like it's
Yeah,
not like anyone's fighting for like to be patriotic. It's just because they want money and land.
yeah,
That's what it's
exactly.
about right now.
Just for
I'm not gonna take
resources
it's
sides
like
with
that they don't
the
even
anybody.
it,
need.
and that's why war is such a bad thing because it's kind of like the self gain for like a few group of people, but it sacrifices so many others. Like
Exactly. That's who they're not even sacrificing other people who are they would like I guess like disalign or disassociate with. Like they're sacrificing the safety of their civilians and their I guess like
exactly,
the inhabitants of their country simply because of this gain that will probably never even be like awarded or like just be looked at in a positive manner in the future anyways. Like honestly like sometimes when I look at things like this, I'm like what do you gain from this? Like why are you putting thousands of people at risk for no reason just because of this? Maybe like are you seriously like sometimes like there's like you can tell like sometimes like a country is like going into like displaying military power simply because they want to scare other countries into like
exactly.
signing
That's so
into
true.
signing papers and they give up land and stuff. They're like, all right, so this is a good example. And and at that cost, I mean, at that they've cost maybe 1,000 lives just trying to demonstrate their military power. It's honestly, it confuses me how people do that. And like, it's because people a lot of the times they cannot see past themselves. They only see the future thing. They see the plan right there, and they're like, all right, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We go ahead. They
Hmm.
never think about the consequences of any action. It's just all right, it's just the one input and you get the one output. They never think of all the other factors, and that kind of and things like that just kind of cascade down like probably like okay if we're let's just because I'm not sure. Okay, if we're taking like the biblical example of like the first murder, right? It was Cain and he murdered his brother, I think it was, right? Aren't you know this?
Um, was it? Yeah, he murdered. So yeah, he I forget his brother's name, but he yeah when they hated each other basically, and they were always rivals. So Cain, what he murdered his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and he became the world's first murderer, and
Yeah,
he was forced to like walk the earth for
forever.
eternity without being able to die. Yeah.
Yeah, the world's first murder, and let's just say for the sake of this conversation, let's say that that event is real. I mean, there had to have been a first murder in the world, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
The first
Wait,
word.
then hold on. Then would you also consider like if you're talking about first murder, are you talking about the first murder a human committed on another human?
Yeah,
Cain is human. Yeah.
yeah, though
No, but like,
because
cause I'm saying, cause technically, if like
that I know you're saying like a
technically
conflict
like
could be
two
anything.
lions
Yeah,
fighting could also be considered murder if they kill one another. But if you're talking about humans only,
Well,
I mean,
here's
yeah,
the
for the
thing.
sake
Do
of
you
human.
consider murder for survival conflict, or murder for the sake of murdering conflict? That's where
no,
like
I feel
Either.
like the conflict, if a conflict gets to a point where you have to end someone's life, I think like that's the correlation there. It's not like that
I
the
th-
conflict is you have to do
I
this to
think
someone. You have to act it out because it's kind of gotten to that point. It's that serious now. It's not just like a simple fight where you're just gonna get the other one to back off. You
I
have to
think
like
murder is
go to that
always
mean.
not always, but I think murder, for maybe not for the sake of humans, but I think murder is avoidable. Let's just like, I don't know, if we were some kind of beings that could like just surpass murder and having to murder other people in order to settle conflicts, like I'd
Mhm.
say, uh like this doesn't really make sense, but like I think the laws of the universe would govern like conflicts to be dissolved without murder, but I think
Yeah,
humans
no,
are
but I
just
mean that's
incapable.
why that's why we created law. That's why we have rules. It's so we
Hmm.
avoid just ruthless killing.
Yeah,
You don't
but
have
yeah,
and
it still happens, and we
even
justify it
today,
through the
like
government.
the death penalty, like it's not used as it was before. It's not used as much. So we've kind of gone past like the use of that kind of punishment or even that kind of because like technically you could consider it a punishment like if there was no law and if someone committed a crime or like stole something on your property the only thing you would do is just to go after them
Yeah,
like there's nothing because there's no authority but because you know we're a civilized not nation but
society.
like I don't know like a society exactly we don't have to go to those means
Yeah,
but still
people in
it's
power do
still
that for
like
us.
crimes still get committed
But the
because
people in power are also humans, and that's why
yeah
conflict
that's
still
true
exists. It's like we're like kind of like just, I guess you could say, lambs, and we're just kind of getting like herded like, here, don't do this. And actually, you know what, I don't think lambs are a good example because I don't think lambs kill other lambs. But let's just say they do. Then a lamb killed another lamb, and all of a sudden the lamb's like, oh wow, I didn't know we could do that. And then the humans who are tending the farm are like, nah, you can't do that, but we're gonna take this lamb and kill him anyways. uh, and then and then the lambs inside are like, wait, so you're telling me you can kill these lambs but we
huh
can't kill other
yeah.
lambs? Well, how does that even make sense? And then they just keep doing it, and then all of a sudden, it not tiny disputes, but disputes that could probably have been settled more peacefully with less lives or even any lives staked at all are risked simply because it becomes a thought in humans and mankind's mind that this is a possible way
Yeah.
to
You
dissipate
know,
conflict.
this is just a cool thing I thought of. It doesn't have much to bring to the conversation we currently are on. But when you're a cop or a detective or something, right? Let's say someone commits murder. There's usually three main motives that the detective tries to look for to try and find whoever the actual murderer was, and those three are robbery, jealousy, and vengeance, right?
Oh,
So I don't think I need
Oh,
to really explain it,
that is
but my
very,
point is basically even and it's not just murders where that happens. It's like in the real world, it always just comes down to robbery. So in the case of Israel versus Palestine, I would consider that
a
a
robbery.
conflict of robbery, basically, right?
Yeah,
I don't see how anyone's
I guess
jealous or
you could boil
vengeance
it
of
down
the
to
other.
that, but we don't have
Yeah,
to
maybe
expand
some
on
ven-
it
it's
because
I don't want to expand on it
a
either,
lot of
just
these
to
things are
keep it
vengeance as well
PT. But
though.
yeah, and a lot of
I
it is
think
vengeance.
vengeance is
Yeah,
like one of the it's the most hypocritical things you can do.
Yeah,
It's like you're
that
literally
and
you're
but
solving
the
the
murdering
thing
problem
someone
with
is,
for
a
murdering
problem,
your
but it
friend.
doesn't
Yeah,
solve.
majority of war, I feel like is conflict for vengeance, is it not?
yeah.
No, no,
It's
Because
remember like
like
the World
if you want
War.
to go there, like World War One, the reason it happened, it was again a dispute between two countries, but because there was like these alliances
Yeah, they're
and
like,
they
all
signed
right, we have to
papers, they all
step
fought
in.
each other.
yeah,
But the funny part
it's
was
just
at
a
that time, like
domino
in
effect.
this was like 1915ish and later. Basically, everyone thought even like normal citizens in society, everyone thought war was a good thing and people were patriotic and excited to go to war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
because they could only think
after it
in,
changed,
yeah.
even
Because they
after
were
like
at
in the
but
60s, for example, like America was really against sending soldiers to Vietnam because they saw like how gruesome it was and they saw that oh
yeah.
this it's
But
not
Yeah,
worth it to
but
back
go
in like World
yeah,
War
like
One, they advertised war as if you're doing a great deed for your
yeah, a
country.
service.
Yeah, like
yeah
some
because
major service. And
that's
technically
how
I mean
powerful
you
You were.
were,
propaganda
but
was then but now
yeah.
people have so much like
They have
information so much more
information. Yeah, they can.
propaganda still exists but you have way more information and stuff to base
You
your
can form your
decisions
own
off of back
opinions.
then it
Yeah,
was barely
It's
anything
funny because now propaganda is just used for to sway people's political opinions,
that is
yeah
true.
basically.
because I don't think I don't to be honest I doubt that the world will go to like a world war, like a huge world war again, because there's every
Too much
country is scared of
information.
everyone
Yeah,
else because no one wants to cause
Hmm.
a nuclear Armageddon, and if they do, it doesn't
it's
help anyone.
GG. Yeah.
That's what
That
the
that's
Cold War
that's
was,
one
I
thing I
think.
think people have understood, even
Really?
though people,
Yeah.
society, humans are very delusional. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I think it was Einstein who said it. Like rats would never invent the or like the mice would never invent a mousetrap, but humans invented nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
That's a very
But that's what happened in the Cold War too. I think because everyone realized how badly things could go in World War III happened, so they decided to just spy on each other instead,
Yeah,
and
but
that
like
happened for
you
like
could you
however
could
long.
still consider like today that kind of like the same scenarios going on. It's not like spying as like much as it was then, but there's still a lot of tension, like even like a
mm-hmm.
lot of political like tension between all many
countries.
countries, and
Yeah,
many of these countries have a lot of
I think
weapons and deadly weapons for them, like nukes that are basically if like one button gets pressed, I know it's not actually a button, but figuratively you could
yeah,
consider it that if one button gets pressed, the whole
everything
world
goes
is
down.
just
Yeah,
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 I
nothing.
think
if
There's no
America
nothing,
decides to
nothing.
send a nuke to Russia or something,
it's
all
done.
it takes is,
100%.
yeah, Russia retaliates,
Yeah,
boom.
or any
There's
country,
five
but the
thousand
thing is,
nukes going
Yeah, I'm just saying because
it's
those
like
are the two
back
major
then
ones. But
that's
yeah,
that's what propaganda was used for. It was
yeah,
used
yeah,
so like the general public would believe that their conflict was a good thing, and
yeah,
like for
exactly.
example, in the USSR, they were made to believe that America is evil, and in America, they were believed that the
Like,
USSR is evil. When there's again,
people
like we
only
said, in our
thought
society,
in yeah,
there's no like good or evil. It's just two sides of a problem, and
cause
either
yeah,
way, it will
and
cause like grief. So there's no point of there's no like right or wrong. You're just I don't know.
it's
It's
just
just a
opposition
war
against
or a conflict
opposition.
that's yeah the government's
There's no yeah,
disagreement.
but I think it's also an important point to bring up that there's no right or wrong. There's it's not wrong, but it's not right either. I mean, you'd say it's wrong because they're risking lives of
Yeah,
people that don't have to be
I
risked.
think another way you could put it that there's no like hero and villain.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
There's no protagonist and antagonist. They're both the well in their own stories. They're both the protagonists, but they're also
Exactly.
the other one
But
is also the
if you look at it, it
antagonist.
like cancels each other out, so it's just
It's like
neutral
Naruto and Sasuke. That
or
sounds
anything.
so stupid. But also, um, while we were talking about the World War One, I think it was like remember. So World War One started off because some dude killed the Duke of Archin, or no, 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 Arch,
Yeah, it
um,
was basically like an assassination of a politically
Austria.
important person.
yeah,
It
Yeah,
was the
one
Austria guy.
assassination. Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't cause it, but it like ignited the flame. It
it
would have
ignited
happened
it.
event
Yeah,
No,
sooner or later.
what caused it was just one country killed. I think it was it?
No,
I don't remember,
it
but
didn't cause it. It was not like a switch. It was just
yeah.
like
yeah,
it was like there was a
It
bunch
was
because
of
like
oil on the ground,
it
and
was like
that
a
was the
domino
match that
effect.
lit
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It
it
just
was
started it.
one country killed another country, like X country killed Y country's political figure, and then X
One of the political
countries,
figures, yeah.
yeah, then Y country's allies backed it up, then X countries, and it was just like that.
and then
That's
it
what
just all went
happened.
off. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'd
And
say
then
like a chain reaction.
that like consequently resulted in World War II as well because the countries that lost the First World War were basically like their end of the deal wasn't essentially fair or like no, not fair, but it just put them in a really bad spot economically, and then it caused extremism to rise and it
mhm,
caused another conflict, which is exactly why when we humans like try to fix a problem,
we
we're
always
looking
just
for
make
the
up more.
solution now. We don't care about what happens later on. And
Hmm.
as you an example of that, like we said before,
All of
global
our
warming.
problems make
No,
more problems
the government,
and
most of the governments
solutions.
don't care about global warming because by the time it becomes like actually like it is a threat, but
It
by the
won't
time it
affect them; they'll be
becomes
dead. Yeah,
exactly, it will be the next generation. What do they care?
exactly. I was
That's
gonna
why.
say
What were
about
you gonna say? Yeah, you can go.
oh, it's all right, whatever. Okay, so World War One, right? The guy murdered other another guy, and then I was gonna say that's kind of like a metaphor. What I was talking about, Cain, who was the first murderer. That's kind of what I was like wanted to touch upon. Like Cain and the first murderer, and that's also what I talked about in the lamb. In this case, Cain was the guy who murdered the political figure, and yeah. Also, there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I forgot now. Whatever. I think there's more things we should talk about, though, right?
In war, I feel like it's I feel like the reason like we see it as like a like an I don't know what the word for it is. We just see it as a like a really bad thing. But at the end of the day,
Pointless.
it's just
Yes.
it's just like a feud between two. You could consider the two groups like the two governments, two people, but these people have very strong weapons. They have armies and
Mm-hmm. They have
other types of
many
technology that
allies.
exactly it's just like the amount of power each person has, like that's correlating to the size of the
The
conflict or
severity of
how
the
much
conflict, yeah.
yeah.
But I don't
No,
think that is the
even like the
case,
severity of the
actually.
conflict, like if the conflict is like, oh, they
The conflict
like for
eventually
example,
escalates to that severity because of these people, the
exactly, yeah,
weapons they wield. It's like two people who are, I guess, like talking about, I don't know, like two people who have the power of their entire nations at their disposal, and it's America and
exactly.
Russia, right? And these two are just like, I don't know, they're just teenagers in like their high school. I don't know what kind of high
Hmm.
school they're going to, right? And I don't know, they just have a rivalry because they're like, I don't know, whatever, they have a rivalry, right? And things like this, they kind of eventually escalate, like the little disagreements and disputes, accumulate over time, and because of the kind of the power they wield, you could say, the severity of the
Yeah,
complex
exactly.
grows equal in size. But oh yeah, okay. So I was gonna talk about how, well, you talked about like how our most of our solutions to conflicts are very temporary, right? They're not well
Yeah.
thought out, and they eventually, and yeah, they come up with more conflicts in the future. So like, how do we even like begin trying to not set off a cascade of events of more conflicts from solving one conflict? I mean, it seems like every time, it's just like in science, when you find out one thing, like when we find out, when someone found out about uh like when Isaac Newton found out about gravity, we got eventually a build up to like nuclear physics, like,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
it's like it just
It is a
leads to
cascading
more.
like a domino effect.
So how do you even begin to prevent that? I don't think it's even possible,
It's
is
not
it?
fully preventable, is it though?
I don't
Because
think it
No,
is
at the end of the
possible.
no,
day,
but you can like cushion the damage. It doesn't have to be as
yeah.
bad as it is now.
But there will always be
For
more conflicts from no matter what you
like
solve.
when someone says you deal with conflict, they don't necessarily mean completely omit the conflict. They
Yeah,
just mean like like
Deal
you
with it
said,
better, like you
cushion, kind of like cushion the
deal with
blow,
it. Yeah,
basically.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
but those like even though like cuz like we said, you can't have like a world with no problems. That's just not going to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
It's
if
not
you
even a world.
if you find a way to deal with the problems in the most efficient manner, that's the closest thing you can get to world peace.
Yeah, that's the closest thing you can get to a utopia. Uh, but
Yeah.
like, it's like it's like we like in the beginning, our problems were very simple. We just had to make food and make sure we wouldn't get eaten in our sleep, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Eventually, and then eventually our problems evolved.
Hmm.
We found out agriculture, and then someone started hoarding their farm, and then
Yeah,
some people formed
exactly.
cities and societies of people with farms and sold it
Yeah.
off at a price to
Yeah,
people
and the
without it.
people with food were like they were like the leaders
The
of that
Yeah, the
mini
higher ups.
village, and they became royalty, and
Yeah,
it
exactly.
went on for hundreds of
Evolved.
years. The casting system,
Yeah,
the
and
different.
then well, not ten, actually, yeah, tens of thousands of years went by, and now we have huge problems that are much beyond just eating food. Things like making our planet devoid of life ever again, whether it be through global warming
Hmm.
or nuclear missiles. So it seems like every time we solve our issues, like we solve our lack of food, or solve our lack of sleep or health, we come up with bigger problems, because that's just the nature of everything. Every solution, no matter how well thought out it is, will lead to an infinite number of problems leading up to it. I mean,
No, but
leading
the thing
after.
is okay, like for example, let's make it simple, right? There are let's say let's keep it at like I don't know the most like I don't know the most one dimensional as possible. Like let's say you have an elementary school, right? And there's two people. There's a bully and a victim, right? Let's say if you don't do anything about it now, the bully will go on to become a criminal, and he'll get sentenced and cause pain to his family, and the victim will like have severe mental health problems when he leaves, and he'll never be the same.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically, let's say
Is this
that
an
they
example?
yeah, it's an
Oh,
example,
okay,
right? So
okay.
let's say that they like right now in this like timeline, for example, you don't do anything about it, and again, the problems start off small, like it's just teasing, but then as they get older, it becomes more
Escalate. Yeah.
violent, and it becomes more like the problems just become worse. One thing you could do, like I don't know, I feel like the most
Efficient.
natural thing for humans to do would just be take the bully and expel him, right? For example, let's say you
Yeah.
do that.
Just
Then what
remove.
happens? Let's say that first of all, that the person who was the victim, right? It's not like you did anything for them. You just basically took away
What if he just
the
gets
like
bullied again? Like
exactly, or it's basically
it's
like
a
he was.
temporary
Let's say he
fix.
was
Yeah.
like I don't know, like you could say he was like poisoned. You basically took away that was poisoning him, but the thing is, the
It's still
poison
in
that
his
got
system.
inside him is
Yeah.
still there. You didn't do anything about that,
That's very
okay?
good.
And
Yeah.
then let's say you look at the bully right now. You didn't do it. All you did to him was basically just shun him to the side and said, "You're not allowed in this school anymore."
He won't even
It's like
understand the
that everywhere though.
consequences of his
But
actions.
why? What if schools had like a better system
Like
that dealt with things like this,
That's
bullying,
what
and
that's what
rather than
people
just telling
believe.
people not to bully, if they actually had like proper mental health facilities, and usually the person who's the bully is not actually just
a
like a
bad
villain or an
person.
evil
Yeah.
person.
Yeah,
It's like
that's what people
they have their
believe
own
jail
problems at
should be
home, and
like.
if you fix the problems where they originate from, and then you like try to
Source of the
cover up
problems.
all
Yeah.
the like fix all the like I don't know the damage that's already been dealt, that's the best way you can fix it.
The issue is with that though is that let's say like that bully has some kind of problem at home, like his parents are fighting or they have some kind of I don't know, just whatever example, right?
Hmm.
The issue is that bully now thinks they're in that mindset where they think they're super tough and they don't need anyone's help. So it's hard for
Them to
like
accept.
teachers or
Yeah.
principals or for them to
Yeah, it's
for them
hard,
Very
to
but it's not
accept
difficult,
any
but
of
it
impossible.
that.
will happen. Yeah.
It's hard, but it's not
That's
impossible.
what and that's what people want to sorry, that's what people want to happen in like something as big as jails too. Like
That's what
what
happens
happens
in
currently in
sewage
jails
jails and
is
stuff.
it's about punishment over
Yeah, that
rehabilitation.
and again, this is also another like issue that's gone actually very political, like prison reform. Like right
Mm.
now, again, like you just said, it's basically just you punish them and you just assume that it will get fixed, right?
Yeah. What are
And
you
but the
doing to
thing
them?
is
They're
like
just
the
ignoring them
prison
again.
system right now, like I don't know. Well, we can talk about America. Like it's not safe at all. The facilities are not clean. It's not like you're not doing anything to make them better. Usually when people end up in prison, they usually come back anyways.
Yeah, and they
It's not like you're doing
commit more
anything to fix
crimes a
them.
lot of times. A lot of the time, not
And
every time, but
which is also one of the reasons why America
has a high crime
probably
rate.
I'm just making an like an estimate here based off the information we have. The reason I mean the reason America has that many incarcerated people, like I think it's the most in the world, is probably because their prison system is not efficient or good at
Yeah.
all. It's not fixing the people who
Yeah, because
got
well, not America. A lot of American citizens. I don't mean to come at anyone here. A lot of American citizens. It's like kind of like the same time where like we were talking about propaganda and like a lot of the people were like very they were very had very positive notions towards war, right? They were like, let's go to war, let's I don't know, let's
to
murder
win.
those
Yeah,
people, right? Yeah, like they were very motivated to do so. I feel like it's kind of like the same kind of like same kind of energy to that yeah the same kind of energy
yeah.
towards people who are
I get what you
incarcerated.
mean.
Like
Like
make them
that's and that's what
pay.
happens over generations. Like those same
Yeah,
beliefs get passed down, and
like it's like make them pay, but like the what I hate the most is like everyone wants to see everyone else as the bad guy except for themselves. Like no one will ever think of themselves as
yeah,
the root of their
exactly.
issues. Everyone will always
And
blame
again,
others.
that's another thing we can. So just quickly before I add on, I was just gonna say that we were again like in this episode we've like talked a lot about how our current ways of solving conflicts as society is pretty negative and it doesn't really work. But instead of doing that, we also wanted to bring forth solutions and things you could do better. And like thing George just said, removing ego and removing like your selfish nature and trying to put yourself in the other side's perspective can actually help a lot because if you're
Refine
just
people's
thinking about
perspective.
what you see through your eyes, it's not a conflict. It's just self-benefit for you and like defeat for them. That's like the complete opposite of solving a conflict. You're just putting more weight on one side. You're not like balancing the scale. It's doing nothing.
It's ignorance of a conflict. I feel like
The only reason it's done so often is because it's easy.
hmm that's true. It's the most simple way to alleviate a temporary conflict that you see
Exactly.
right now, but it always evolves into more.
And another thing, we also covered this or touched upon it at least. The solution should be like sustained over a period of time. It shouldn't be a temporary solution. It should be long lasting. And the way you do that is to solve the origin of the
Roots.
problem. It's like if a pipe is leaking,
You don't
the
just
best
fix
way
the
to do it
pipe,
is
you
to actually
fix the
fix
water
the leaking
pressure
pipe. You
system
don't
or
just
whatever.
put tape over it, you know?
Oh, I was gonna
Like
say like yeah.
I thought you were going in a different direction with that one. Yeah, I thought what
but
Chor was thinking as well.
well,
It's like the pipe might have broken in the first
You're
place
basically
because
what
of
we're
water
trying to
please.
say is
pressure.
that yeah, you want to fix like the origin of the
But the
problem. If
problem
you
Yeah.
is, I think I just now like I just thought like a lot of the times the origin is so like far traced back. It's like so many contributing factors to a problem, and like there's so many, I guess, origin points you could say, that it's just so like it's like so difficult because when you cut off one origin, it may like that solution itself might also be a temporary fix. So then you have to trace it back. It's like you have like just like the roots of trees, right? And you're like, all right, so this root has what are those plants that you don't like that you pull them out? Weeds? Yeah,
weeds,
weeds.
weeds,
So that this root has weeds, which makes no sense. But this root has weeds, so we're gonna pull this root out, and then we're like, nah, you know what? Let's get rid of the origin of those weeds. So we get rid of the origin of those weeds, and now once we have that, then it comes up into a bunch of new problems because it turns out those weeds were important to keep other beings away from eating the tree. I don't know, and
No,
then
but the thing is, the way conflict happens, I get what you're saying. Like the origin can be passed down from 100, like over 100 years ago, over different generations, things like that. But the
yeah,
way you fix that, you can't fix it in a day. Obviously, it will take many years.
but it's not
But the
fixing
best
it;
way to
it's
do it is
covering it
just
up.
it's just to start and
It's
put
like
significance on the point that you have to fix what caused the problem. You don't just
yeah,
like tape up what's happened now. You don't
going
just
back to your
like
yeah.
if there's like for example if there's a lot of crime happening in America and there's a lot of poverty, you don't just like one thing you could do an easy way is just just lock up all the criminals. But then it's not like that will fix the problem. There's still poverty,
There'll
and
still
again
be more
poverty can
criminals after that. What about
exactly.
that?
So that's
Yeah, I
that's
was
one
gonna
way to
say.
look at it, right?
Yeah, but I was gonna say like every time we fix an issue, like uh, like quote unquote fix, right? Like going back to your water pipe, right? It's like you would say like somewhat doing a simple solution for fixing the water pipe would be putting tape over it, but like a more permanent solution would be to like weld the metal over on it, right? So that it just doesn't open up again. But like the thing is like welding the metal is incredibly difficult, and so the only like it's just for the sake of uh just for the sake of the conversation and for the sake of realism, actually no, abstractism actually, uh you just cannot weld that metal pipe for whatever reason, right? It just doesn't happen. There's just too many factors that prevent you from doing so, and that's how it is in real life. So all you can really do is just keep putting up more and more bandages on top of it to make sure any more water doesn't leak out.
Yeah,
Like you
but the
cannot
thing
ever
is,
have a permanent
yeah,
solution.
but like then you could say if the bandages get wet, then it will leak anyways, and that's what happens when you put a temporary solution on something. It's not gonna fix it.
Yeah,
Maybe it'll fix it for like a year or two or a short
Veer,
period of
look,
time.
if you have a perfect solution, if you have a perfect solution, then that means you would have the perfect solution to everything because all
No,
solutions are always.
I'm not saying that there's a perfect solution to everything. I'm just saying that we should be more cautious of the way we solve
Yeah, I know,
problems
I know.
because
I'm just saying
if
that.
you solve a problem in like a kind of like you just cheat
Yeah, I know.
kind
You
of to do
can't
it
cheat
quickly,
on
it's
it,
not gonna
but
do anything.
you
And
can never have that perfect solution. You can never have that solution that cuts off
no, but
all other issues because all
I
other
feel like
issues are
the
interconnected.
things we listed can be used as strategies to fix these problems. Again, like we said, like removing ego and putting yourself in the other perspective. Or for example, making sure that or not making sure, but I don't know, like making the solution in a sense that it will not only fix the problem today, but fix it for future generations. Even if it takes more effort, someone's gonna have to fix it tomorrow anyways, because it's not gonna work if you only
Hmm.
fix it for today.
Now I was gonna.
So
I mean, it's like you said though. There's never ever going to be
The
a
perfect
perfect
solution.
solution,
but
right?
Because then
yeah,
if you
You
could
but
have
if
the
just
there's not a
perfect
wasted
perfect
solution,
solution, you should
cushion
just try
there.
your best to get as best as you
yeah.
can. I'm not saying
Now
it
Yeah.
will
if
be
you have the
perfect.
perfect solution, then we would have no
then
other
there would be no
conflicts
problem.
There
So
would
anyways,
yeah,
be
and then
no
it would not
conflict.
exist again. No, the world just
yeah,
simply
it
would
just goes
not
back in
be.
that loop. Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we should also talk about our fifth point in today's episode, which is about what a world without conflict would actually look like. So, which is, as we know, that is like we've mentioned already, it's extremely difficult to even picture that because it most likely will never happen.
It will
But
never
just
happen.
speaking in the hypothetical, if a world without conflict wouldn't just happen for some reason, what would that end up? Would we be in some kind of peaceful haven forever,
Sometimes
No,
like
or would there still be
I
some
think
kind of problems?
it would kind of be like peaceful chaos. I don't know how to put it, but it's like I feel like the way you could picture
everyone
or
will be like
visualize it,
slowly
you're
losing their
sitting in a
minds.
white room, right? Or like a blind room. No, it doesn't matter what color it is, but you're sitting in a blind room. It's a cube, right? You're given food, water, shelter, blah blah blah, everything, and you survive. If there's no conflict, that means children don't have to go to school. They don't have to go to school because they don't need jobs because everyone's just given food and they're able to survive. No one needs to innovate anything because there's no problems in the first place. So that means
Hmm.
Hmm.
technology doesn't get developed, and no technology, there's no entertainment. Okay, and then
There's just
your
nothing.
lives are
Yeah.
again
Not
bland.
even entertainment. There's just nothing to work towards in life.
Exactly,
Like
but
there's no bigger
that's why I'm
picture.
saying even if you come up with a solution that causes another problem, like let's say like Joris said, you want to make a solution to something long lasting, it can cause other problems like you're talking about like welding the pipe, like so you don't have the tools to do so, then you can go look for those tools again, and that even when you like if you fix a problem again, like that's why technology has become so useful because we've built it so that it's like a way to solve one problem, but it cascades and it's able to be used for other things as well. You can like
Hmm.
recycle one solution.
Yeah, it
But
would just be a
mhm,
world where there's like no and that's the thing about conflict too. Every little thing has to do with conflict. Like anything
every
can be
the
Conflict is what
world
conflict.
drives
is.
life, I think.
Hmm?
It
Yeah,
kind of
The world
does.
is,
I
yeah, it's like chaos, and chaos slash conflict are the complement of life and peace, I guess you would say. They,
I don't think we mentioned this. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off,
mhm.
but I don't think we mentioned this before. But just to be clear, we're not saying having conflict with other people is a bad thing
Yeah,
because it brings up good points, right? And but the part of where conflict can be bad is when people take it to an extreme and do it for motives like we mentioned before, like
that
the
are
three major
selfish, that
motives.
have no
Yeah,
If you
good
solve it in a
contributing factor.
lackluster way, that's
yeah.
also something that can negatively impact
Lackluster.
you. But
Yeah,
I think we've covered our content, our main chunk of content for this episode.
yeah,
And
I'd
Yeah.
agree.
Aaron, did you wanna, continue
So
on that? Yeah.
Yeah. So before we end the episode today, there's like one major thing I want to talk about, and that's that. uh, So this is episode 10 of season one, which means this season is finally coming to a close. So I want to thank everyone who's consistently watched every episode, even
Not
though
even
we know there's not a
consistently.
lot of people.
Whoever's listening
But
to
we
it.
try to, yeah, we try to come up with good ideas and keep it entertaining. So we're gonna have a couple of changes coming in the next seasons to hopefully keep it more fresh. I don't know what else to say other than I
Stay
think that
tuned. Yeah.
it's yeah. So and that reminds me actually. As of this week, this will be the last week with a consistent weekly upload, which means next week we will not be uploading anything in preparation for the second season. And after that week comes by, we'll be resuming all
Every
uploads
week.
as
Yeah.
scheduled, basically. Yeah. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching this episode. We really appreciate it. Sorry. All links to social media will be in the description of wherever you're watching this, whether it's Spotify or YouTube. And yeah, have a good day.